You're mine now. You belong to me.
What's up, fight fans? We are back at it with another edition here at Round One Sports TV. I am always your host, Edwin. That's right. Where do all fights start? Round one. We have an amazing show for you here today. We're going to talk about all the highlights of last night's action. Tank Davis, what this means for the 135-pound weight division, and how this shakes things up. The 140-pound weight division had a lot of moving parts, and we're going to discuss all that. And we're going to report Naoya Inoue's new opponent for the May 4th date. So you're not going to want to miss this. All that and more. Stick around. Click that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe. Let's get right into this episode. I had to change the title. The title is set. Javon, Tank Davis, Roach, Subriel Matisa versus. Oh shit! Yeah, I have the title wrong there. So, yes, I do. So we're gonna have to. Okay, let's save that. So I think I corrected the title. Thank you, Frontline. Thanks for that, bro. Hopefully that makes the correction right there and switches up the title. So let's break this down, man. This Gervonta Tank Davis fight. Let's get this right out of the way. What this means for Gervonta Davis and where does he go from here? You know, thank you, Frontline. So, you know, a lot of people on the outside looking in last night viewed this fight with Gervonta Tank Davis, and they really didn't read the signs leading into the fight. Gervonta Tank Davis was trying to tell the world that he believed that this fight with Lamont Roach was a very tough fight for him in the sense of competition. Lamont Roach brought a lot to the table last night, where that he was very familiar coming up through the amateurs with Tank Davis. They have a history. They weren't really enemies, so to speak. Gervonta Davis knows Lamont Roach's family. And in this sport, sometimes you gotta set your feelings to the side and get in the ring and settle your differences. So this was a very competitive fight as far as how familiar they were with each other. Lamont Roach really showed that when given an opportunity, there's no measuring stick for how far a fighter is willing to train and willing to go. He really put in the time in the gym, and it showed. He was able to hold Gervonta Davis back. He took a lot of Gervonta's punches, and he weathered the storm and applied a lot of his pressure. He had that left check hook going on all night. He was really stifling Gervonta Davis's attack. And Gervonta knew that coming into this fight. He even went and got a second eye, a different coach for a different approach to this style of fight. And it goes to speak to no matter how long these fighters are in the sport and they are pros, Gervonta Davis revealed something to the world if you weren't paying attention. That now all these professional boxers know the ins and outs and all the rules in boxing. And although they are a professional boxer, They mostly focus on the fighting part of boxing, not typically all the rules. When Gervonta Davis took that knee to wipe that whatever solution was in his hair that was causing his vision to be impaired, that was technically a knockdown. If you take a knee in any fight, there's a rule that states that a fighter can take a knee to halt the action if he needs like a break. Same thing Jamel Charlo did against Saul Canelo Alvarez when he was stunned with that big shot against the ropes. He knew he couldn't engage again and take another shot like that. So what he chose to do was to take a knee. If Gervonta Davis wanted to halt in the action, his only way to do that was to take a knee. That must be counted as a knockdown. It must be. The referee really, I guess he didn't see that Gervonta Davis took any damage. What was the reason behind the knee? Was it a late reaction punch? Things of that nature. Gervonta Davis could have awarded Lamont Roach this fight if that knockdown was recorded. You can't just halt the action like that. All right. You have to notify the referee that something's in your eye and he can cause a timeout. And so the refereeing in this fight, in fact, wasn't all that great. There were moments in the fight where the fight was halted and the clock kept ticking down. And those valuable seconds, either could go to Lamont Roach's favor or Tank Davis's favor, but we'll never know now, will we? Because some of these seconds and key moments in the fight were halted. As far as Gervonta Davis goes, this goes to show the boxing world what Gervonta Davis is mostly afraid of, and that's losing. Some of these fights were planned out, picked for him to make him look very powerful and very good. But what happens at that point in your career is if they keep putting you in the ring with these kind of fighters, does it hurt you as a fighter or does it make you better? Does it make you mentally stronger where you say to yourself, well, if I'm beating all these guys, it gives you the belief that you can beat better guys. But you're going to have to put on the skills with that. I think Gervonta Davis is a student of the game, but a part of his game, I have to admit, was exposed on a world stage last night. And that's all I can say about that. That if you're supposed to be the face of boxing and the best boxer, one of the best boxers that we have in our era today, well, then you're going to have to do some best boxer shit. You're going to have to make adjustments. You're going to have to adjust when the fight gets tough. You're going to have to beat the fighter at the very thing they're good at. So, as far as, Gervonta Davis' style being exposed last night, there's no other word to describe it. It is what it is. Lamont Roach showed that Gervonta Tank Davis' defense can be penetrated. He also showed with a good left check hook, a steady sense of awareness and not allowing Gervonta Davis just to get off and reset every time. You can keep him off balance. In fact, in the fight, I think some of the best punches in the fight were landed by Lamont Roach, where that you saw that he staggered Gervonta Tank Davis in the fight. Now, Lamont Roach, kudos to him for seeing that he had Gervonta a little staggered and not losing his mind and trying to go in for the kill. The entire time, he kept his composure. He knew what he had to do. He knew the assignment, and he stuck to his game plan. So, it was a tough fought fight. Let me listen to it. Let me read some of your chats. What's up, S2K Matt? What's up? Yeah, I seen a lot of the flaws in Tank's game last night, man. Yeah. I think a lot of the world saw a lot of the flaws in Tank's game last night. Um, from the moment he started the fight with Lamont Roach, the way that Lamont Roach was able to, systematically start to pick Tank apart. Um, but he had to go through the fire to do so because Tank Davis landed a fair share of his shots last night on Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach got a beard on him. He really does. He's a tough man. Um, and kudos to him. Now, what does this do for Tank Davis, though? Now that the world's seeing that, right? Where does Tank go from here? Does he double back and he fight Lamont Roach again for Lamont Roach, Tank Davis 2? Or does Tank Davis go forward like the rest of the boxing world wants him to do? Let's just think about the situation. We never wanted this Lamont Roach fight in the beginning. And although Lamont Roach came out and really fought his heart out, and what I think he should have been awarded the victory. But that still doesn't change the fact that Tank Davis has a responsibility to the 135-pound weight division. He's not a champion at 130. He owes Lamont Roach nothing. What he owes is the fans, the fights we've been wanting to see. And that's Tank Davis versus Shakur Stevenson, Vasily High-Tech Lomachenko, and maybe possibly Keyshawn Davis. Now, those are the fights we want to see, and Tank Davis is responsible for the 135-pound weight division, not 130. So although the fight was entertaining, I would like to see it again, but maybe on some later date. Tank Davis got a lot of answering to do, and he had a lot of names and people in line already. And although Lamont Roach put up this kind of performance, I really don't want to see Lamont Roach Tank Davis fight next. Again, that just stalls out the 135-pound weight division, and it seems like the 135-pound weight division hasn't been going anywhere. It's just been puttering out. Not like the 140 that's on fire right now. The 140-pound weight division right now, champions are fighting opponents. There are new champions being announced. There are champions being made. Mr. Miyagi with the super chat. You know what I'm saying? Thank you. And there's a lot going on right now at 140. But 135, it's a fucking ghost town. It's a ghost town. Look, last night we witnessed Gary Antoine Russell go in there and put the Beats by Dre on Jose Valenzuela. And I have to admit, although Gary Antoine Russell fought a great fight, a very strong fight from start to finish, and if I want to be really completely 100% transparent, how many rounds did Jose win in that fight? Legitimately. There were a couple close little swing rounds. I went back and I glazed over the fight again, all the fights this morning. Gary Antoine Russell pitched a shutout against Jose. And I'm going to tell you, he had some help. Because I really believe the champion's curse really bit Jose Valenzuela in the ass. I think he was on Cancun, working on his tan a little bit too long. And he stood in that party a little bit too late. Because as you can see, I talk about this. The next time you see your favorite fighter or a fighter you like, you should see a better version of that fighter, such as Subriel Matisa last night in the 140-pound weight division. When the world saw Subriel Matisa last night, I went back and I watched that fight. That guy was no cab driver. That guy knew how to fight, and he knew how to box, and he was very tough, maybe a little too tough for himself. Because that beating Subriel put on him last night, at some point in the fight, I started noticing two things in that fight. One, it was getting hard to watch. And two, damn it was still early in the fight. That guy was looking like that after only 4 or 5 rounds. He looked like he was been in the fight 12 freaking rounds already against Subriel. I noticed those two things. That Subriel put that ass whooping on him really early. That man was already, his eye was busted. They should have stopped that fight. And it goes to show you that from the time that we saw Subriel Matias fight against Roberto, the Mexican cop out there in Puerto Rico, I got to admit, although I'm a Subriel Matias fan and I am Puerto Rican, I had to admit Subriel didn't look like the best in shape against Robert. But boy, what did he look like last night? He was even popping the jab, switching the feet, styling on homeboy. He was doing things we don't even see Subriel doing. He's getting better. His game is getting elevated. That's what I mean about the next time you see your favorite fighter, you should see a better version of that fighter. I had to admit, I saw a decline in Jose Valenzuela's performance last night. It's like he could never get it into the second gear against Gary Antoine Russell. He stood in like one gear the entire night. And Gary Antoine Russell was fading. He was fading fast. You could see it. 9th, 8th round, he was huffing and puffing in the corner. You know what kept that man going? Will. There's no measuring stick for a man's heart. How far they're willing to go to win. Although he was huffing and puffing in that corner, he came out strong every round. He said, I could be tired tomorrow. And if Jose Valenzuela would have just stopped to think a little bit, he could have sapped out some of that energy Gary Antoine Russell had by going downstairs to the body. But Jose was too busy looking good in his tan with his new beard that it looked like he never got into the fight. Derek Luca, he lost. It was a draw without that knockdown being scored. Without the knockdown being scored, it was a draw. That's what they said, right, Mr. Miyagi? Hey, Mr. Miyagi, let me throw up your chat. Let me go back up here. Super chat. Rocha's keeping tight defense and not overstanding on his shots really helped to, nullify. And it did. That's correctly right there, Mr. Miyagi. That is right. He wasn't overextending on his shots. He was staying composed within himself. And Tank started to talk to him in the fight. Notice that? Because Tank decided he was trying to unravel Rocha, right? What he was trying to do was fight Rocha's ego. He was trying to tell him, man, you ain't shit. Stand right here and bang with me. And Rocha was like, man, I'm not playing your game. I'm not going to let you get in my head to get me to do something stupid to sit here and exchange with you, Tank. I know you could crack. And good thing, listen, that's when a guy is losing a fight or he can see the fight start to slip away, he might try something else. And I think that's exactly what Tank started to do. Because Lamont Roach was focused, boy. He wasn't playing no games with Tank. Tank tried to get him on the inside with some cheap shot. He smacked Tank on the side of the head. I ain't playing that shit, he said. And he showed Tank he wasn't there to be pushed around or bullied. Whenever they got tangled up in a sequence, Lamont Roach was punching Tank all on the side of the head. Couple little rabbit punches there by both guys anyway, because just like Rocha did it, Tank did it. So, Rocha just wanted to show him, I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of you like the rest of these guys. Half these guys Tank had beat already on the way to the fight. Before they even got in the ring, they were beat in the locker room mentally. They were already defeated. Lamont Roach was not going to be intimidated by the star status that is Gervonta Tank Davis. Lamont Roach's stock is about to go up. And Gervonta Davis is what I'm being told. He even got booed last night for the excuse of him getting something in his eyes. Are we at the point where the fans are going to start to turn on Gervonta Tank Davis? Have we gotten there now? And if that's so, then Gervonta Tank Davis is going to have to do something to get the fans back on his side. And what I think he's going to have to do is not fight Lamont Roach again. No. You have a responsibility to the 135-pound weight division. You are the champion there, not at 130. Although this guy almost came in and played spoiler, and let me tell you right now, Mr. Tank Davis, from me to you, brother, and I'm not talking shit. You know this like I know this, brother. All right? Be thankful you're not defeated. You didn't wake up this morning with a loss. Just be thankful for that. The fans can say whatever they want about you, but technically, you didn't lose. The bullshit about a draw is it kind of means like the fight never happened. In a sense, where that as a fighter, what do you want to do with every fight? What is your goal with every performance? To go forward, right? So a win can bring you that much forward and for your legacy on your record. With every win, that's more numbers to you being undefeated and having wins in your winning column. With a draw, okay, it doesn't mean you lost, but it also doesn't mean you won. It means that you went through a whole entire training camp, hosted the festivities, fought, your corner was there, everybody was there for a night that doesn't count. That's neither bad or good, but at the same time, when it's all said and done and they go back to look at Tank Davis's resume, that draw is going to pop up then. That's when that draw is going to become of significance. When he retires. As of right now, he can talk around it. He can bypass it. He can ignore it. He can go out and fight other guys in the weight division and score knockouts, unifications. And I don't think that draw is going to plague his career as of right now. That draw comes in at the end. When they want to put you in conversations with great ones. That's when shit like that comes in. But do you guys really want to see this fight again? Or would you like Gervonta Davis to finally fight one of the champions at 135, unify some of these belts, and fight tougher fights? Or do you want to see the Lamont Roach Tank Davis 2? And where does that move the needle at 135? Where? We could sit here all day, talk about the Gervonta Tank Davis fight, what we saw, what took place. Does that change the outcome? No. It's up to you guys as fans what you're willing to pay to see. I may want him to fight Shakur and Vasily, but perhaps you guys really want to see this Lamont Roach fight. Again, I want to know. Leave it in the comments. Let me know, as fans, what do you think Tank Davis should do right now? Does he take another step forward in the 135, or does he's not allowed to take another step forward until he takes care of that business? How do you guys feel about this? Then the event itself was reported, you know, that it was the second highest gate, that he broke his gate with Ryan Garcia, with this Lamont Roach. Now, promoters are going to say the damnedest things to get you to think that the night was a success. The numbers might say something entirely different. You know, I know what they said last night, but I've been in boxing long enough to know when people have to say stuff to sell the fight. They're not going to announce that the fight was a flop because it would discourage you last night from buying the pay-per-view. If you say the pay-per-view is a success, in your mind, the world is watching. Now I need to watch. That's just marketing. That's business 101. I know what that looks like. Now the numbers itself, now that I would like to see. I would like to actually see the live gate numbers. I would like to see the pay-per-view numbers. You know, and then I would go from there. But what they're saying, what they were announcing, all that shit is irrelevant to me. That's just promotion. How many times have I been told that this fight was a sellout, or that this fight right here was the biggest fight? You know what I mean? And it really wasn't. And it really wasn't. They what fight was that with Mayweather? That they try to say that it was like this big spectacle, and like if you put the camera in the arena, the entire third row section was empty. Yeah, it wasn't really a sellout like that, but they'll tell you that it was, because it did so much better on pay-per-view rather than it did in person. Yeah, so I've seen this all too often in the sport of boxing. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. What's up, Lloyd? What are you saying over here? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Where does he go from here, Lloyd? Like, so Take's not allowed to have a well, it's not that he's not allowed, right? It's not that he's not allowed to have lackluster fight. That's not the problem here. It wasn't like he fought a really competitive fight, had an off night, or had a good night, or really competitive night, where that the guy that he fought, his style proved to be difficult for the other guy's style. That's not what we were seeing. Had that been the case, what you're describing is him fighting somebody at 135. The fact that you brought this guy down from a smaller weight division should have been that you beat him like that. It wasn't somebody in your own weight division that gave you a competitive fight that would have made it what you're saying. Okay. It was the fact that he came up from 130 to 135, which means competitive wise, you were the smaller guy. You weren't supposed to be on my level. We weren't supposed to have this fight. Nobody was saying they were asking for the fight. Technically, Tank should have knocked him out faster. That's what happened. That's why a lot of fans are not just willing to give Tank Davis just a pass on this fight. Meaning, yeah, guys can go out there and have a little nail biter and tricky situations and tough fights. Styles make fights. I get that all the time. Had he fought somebody 135 and Lamont Roach did that to him, I'd be like, oh shit. Tough night at the office, Tank, right? I get it. That's not what happened. You weren't supposed to have a tough night at the office. Now with a guy you bringing up, and that's where a lot of the criticism is going to come. Oh, I see what you were saying. He lost. Okay, yeah. Because I was moving up to the comments. Frontline says, yeah, he did look like he was in the 12th round with Matisa already in the 3rd. That speaks to the damage, my man, right? Yeah, he was. Ryo was stuck out there. Thank you, brother. Oh, Mr. Miyagi with another shout out, a super chat. Thank you for another super chat. If Rocha wants to appeal, I think it could be overturned by Rocha. Doesn't seem to. It was a very good fight. What's up, Tro? What you saying? It was a very good fight. The fans won. Only the decision is what's making, yeah, upset. Well, if Tank's fans are kind of upset, Tank should have fought better, right? he should have fought better. Rocha should have fought Shakur. Yeah, I'm better. His stock is rising. Yeah, but he's still the champion at 130. See where this confusion does now? All of a sudden, Tank, Rocha, Shakur Stevenson. Whoa, wait. They're not even in the same weight division. Look what Tank did. He's bringing this guy in conversations he don't even belong in. Go back down to 130. Do your thing, Lamont Rocha. It seems like your star status is going to go up. See if you can get a unification and go that way. Go that way, my man. Unless you're going to vacate that 130-pound championship, and now you feel, since apparently you went 12 rounds with the best 135-pounder in the world, you must be ready for the rest of them. That might not be true, Lamont Roach, because you got to remember, Tank's been avoiding them for a reason. And the world's starting to see this shit. So that's what I mean about this shit is messy, bro. This shit is messy. The whole outcome was messy, man, because as soon as I heard that shit, right, I was like, oh shit, Tank lost, right? I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for the verdict to be read. And when they ever said you know what, I get nervous in fights? Whenever they have like a split decision, they announce the decisions. And the first guy that they say that the judges sided with typically loses. They'll be like, yeah, scores 115, 113, this guy. And I'm like, he lost. You know, and then whenever they came 114, 114, 114, I was like, what the fuck? Once they said a draw right there, I said, man, this is going to get messy. That was not the best outcome. Either Give him the victory or the loss and move on. Move on. You know, well, the loss would have really affected Tank Davis. Let's just be honest. I don't think he could have moved on from there. He would have had to fight Lamont Roach on the rematch for his belt back at 135, which that would have made Lamont Roach a simultaneous 2-division world champion at the same time for the WBA organization. So then in that sense, I would have to say, yo, Tank, you're going to have to fight him again. The fact that it was a draw now, you know, you already got Tank Davis saying he wants to run it back with him. And I was a little taken back by that because I'm like, yo, where's your obligation to the 135-pound weight division? No one asked you to do this, Tank. You didn't owe Lamont Roach anything. It's not like he was avoiding you or you were avoiding him. You guys are in 2 separate weight divisions. Mind your fucking business, Tank. Get back on your side of the street. That's what your ass gets for poking your nose in other weight divisions you didn't belong in. And some guy from a lower weight division came up and outclassed you on a world stage. And whose fault is that, Tank? You picked them. You put this fight together. Although entertaining and Lamont Roach gave us our money's worth, sure. But let's just remember, Tank, who did this? You did this. We didn't ask for it. We never asked for it. So although entertaining, all right, cool. You need to fight in your own weight division, brother. And talk about the fans. I can already hear it. I haven't seen it, but I already know. How many YouTube content creators in all different kind of platforms, whether it's Instagram, Twitch, whatever, right, are saying right now, I could just read the headlines, Tank Davis exposed. How much you want to make a bet that that's exactly what they're going to say about the man? And listen, Tank did all this shit, bro. He did all of it to us. And I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying the fact that you're like, oh shit, I had a tough fight. I got to go relive this fight. I don't give a fuck about that. Never asked for it in the beginning. So now where does this lead the 135? Still stalling out? Where the fuck is Loma? Where's Shakur? Where's Keyshawn Davis? What is he doing? Is Keyshawn Davis suffering the champion's curse right now? It seems like since we won that belt, it's kind of been radio silence. What's he doing? Is he going to lose his belt in his first title defense, just like Jose Rayo? I'm not sure. Now, as far as the 140-pound weight division, Santo Domingo, rise up. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. Alberto Puello last night against Sando Martin, that was a good fight. That was a good fight right there. Please do me a favor and hit them like buttons. Take your time out and smash that like for me. Let's get those likes up. That fight right there in itself proves something to me. In the sense that Sando Martin is a good fighter. I would consider him to be a pretty decent, great fighter. But he doesn't have that championship fighter experience. And what I mean by that is he fought that entire fight against Alberto Puello and against Teofimo Lopez. It was basically the same shit. He's always in close fights and he beats everybody else. He just doesn't have that championship to solidify the fight. I'm trying to tell you right now, had he bit down on that gum shield and fought Alberto Puello and pushed the action towards him more, just a bit more, Sando Martin wins that fight. He was boxing beautifully against Alberto Puello. And at some point in the fight, it was like he just stopped doing what he was doing and he decided to stand there with him, chest to chest like this. I don't know why Sandor Martin did that. I don't know why Sandor Martin starts to fall back in a fight. Yo, he was fighting great against them. And Alberto Puello was having his success too. It was a back and forth affair. I'm not making it sound like he was totally just outclassing Puello, because Puello was doing his thing too. Puello started coming on strong when he saw Sandor Martin shifted back. It was apparent. I saw it. I was like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? He started just. Sandor Martin doesn't have that closing game. You need to seal the fight. Remember when Teofimo Lopez sealed that fight against Vasily? That's what I'm talking about. That kind of shit. Championship round fighting. When you get into the championship rounds, you got to seal the deal. That's what's missing out of Sandor Martin's fight game. He can't seal the deal in these big fights, bro. He does a lot of good shit in the fight. And Sandor Martin was doing a lot of great stuff. He just didn't close the show. In my opinion, from what I was watching as a fighter, that's what was lacking in Sandor Martin. And it has been lacking. And that was very clear to me last night against Puello. Like, what went wrong with him in the TO fight? Why couldn't he close that? Why couldn't he close some of these bigger fights? Why? And I saw it last night. I was just like, he's not a finisher. He can't close the show. He doesn't know when, the when and the where. And in championship rounds, that's all he needed. That's what's up, Mr. Miyagi. Thank you for becoming a member. You know what I'm saying? Listen. Woohoo! Mr. Miyagi, you are the man. That's real love and support right there. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Yo, I agree with you, Armando. My man Tro, he be everywhere with me too. We be hopping all over channels. We be catching each other in the chats. Yeah, always. You know how I do, Tro, man. I hop in. I'm always learning. Student of the game. I don't claim to know it all. I don't always, you know. And people like us, we're always in the mix. Absolutely. Yo, listen. I I I think that Sandor Martin is a great fighter, man. I really do. I think he's good, man, for the sport. He's just one of those guys that's always there. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes, he does. Thank you, brother. Thank you. You know, I'm always on this restream, and I never get like the feed on the YouTube where I can put the wrenches and everything. Well, my man, Mr. Miyagi, he's always in the building. He definitely deserves. I'm about to wrench him up right now. Cause one of my biggest supporters here and part of the round one family. So definitely it's well deserving. I can't believe I've gone this long without hooking my boy up here. There you go, Mr. Miyagi. And thank you for becoming a member at Round One Sports Talk. I really appreciate that. That is awesome. Warlock Boxing, how you doing, brother? So now, as we look further down the landscape of boxing, right? And like I was saying in my video, the 140-pound weight division, I want to quickly address this. Then I want to address Naoya Inoue's opponent. I got a little bit to talk about that too. So stick in the show. You guys know I bounce around with all boxing, and I hope to make it always entertaining for you. Now, the 140-pound weight division is moving around, and there are there are a lot of potential fights, and I'm excited right now for this division. Yo, the IBF is no joke. That organization has a vacant number 1 spot and a vacant number 2 spot for months now. For months, not weeks, months. I believe those 2 spots have been vacant since Subriel lost his belt to freaking Liam Pyro. Richard Hitchison has never had a number 1 or number 2 since he's acquired the belt. Then, and then when you look at the standards, when I looked at it this morning to see all the updates, Gary Antoine Russell is already updated as the champion at the WBA. Alberto Puello still WBC. Sandor Martin kept his number 1 ranking for losing to Alberto Puello. He kept his number 1 ranking. Okay, that's how good they think he is. Okay, Teofimo Lopez and Arnold Barboza are scheduled to fight in New York City for Teofimo Lopez's WBO. It's one of the times that I can't remember too many times where I've ever seen the interim champion fight against the champion to unify championship supremacy. It's kind of like we should have saw Tank Davis fight Devin Haney. Last night when Tank Davis entered the ring with Lamont Roach, they announced him as defending his belt a record 5 times. Like, what belt did Tank Davis defend 5 times? What belt was that? Oh, that secondary belt, that interim belt. So now that's what we're doing. We're counting interim title defenses. That's what we're doing in the boxing world. Yo, they fucking crazy. So Teofimo Lopez is finally fighting Arnold Barboza, which I'm going to publicly come out and say he aged him out. That's a situation in boxing where you saw a fighter age another fighter out. 2-3 years added to his career, relived that fight, you aged him out. Same thing, in a lot of boxing situations, these kind of things occur. But I like the fight. But I don't think Arnold Barboza is the same fighter he once was 2-3 years ago when Teofimo Lopez was avoiding him in the lower weight division. So now he's going to get the fight we're going to see. So as far as the 40-pound weight division, we have the rise of new champions, Richard Hitchison. We got the rise of Gary Antoine Russell, and Alberto Puello, if you ask me, solidified himself as a champion for the WBC. You guys know this. I am critical on fighters, and I'm very up on the fact that when we look back in history, tell me the champion you beat for that belt. How valuable is your belt? And if you fought for a vacant world title, there was no champion, then there was no champion to beat. The person that is the winner in that fight is a legit champion. It was vacant. When you have a belt that stripped off somebody and you are upgraded, elevated to the champion, there's an asterisk in that transformation. Because who did you fight? The Fax Machine? Fax Machine 2000. That was your opponent? Because you didn't beat any champion for the belt. And it wasn't vacated. They basically awarded you the belt. What kind of champion are you? So that's what I mean. When it looks back in history, who the hell did Tank Davis beat for that belt? What's the champion's name? Tell me. I'll be right here. What champion did he beat? When Alberto Puello and Sandro Martin fought, here's the difference in their situation. One, Devin Haney was the champion in recess. The WBC basically stripped them of their belt, which really made that belt vacant. Alberto Puello won the interim title against Gary Antoine Russell, which gave him status to fight for the belt if it was ever vacated. All they had to do was strip Devin Haney and allow Sandro Martin and Puello fight for the belt. The outcome, whoever wins, it's like winning a vacant world title. I believe Santo Domingo got themselves a real champion right there. And if it was ever argued, in my mind anyway, Alberto Puello is a real champion right now. Because Devin Haney has no official ties to that belt, and he's already fighting somebody else, right? Ramirez. So it's not like Devin Haney put up a big stink about it or anything. Yeah, brother, he's a real champion. So what does this leave? What does this put us? Subriel Matias is coming out of that after that belt, Richard Hitchison, and I'm pretty sure when you woke up this morning and you saw the performance that Subriel Matias did to that man, Richard Hitchison, you should start thinking about two things, right? One, either perhaps move up in weight, or two, maybe it's time for a new career. I hear figure skating is good, maybe crocheting, something like that. Maybe fishing sounds good. You know what I'm saying? Maybe go build some model cars or something. Because if you don't do anything other than that, guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to defend that 140-pound weight division against that monster coming up. And everybody that wanted to dismiss Subriel Matias just because he had a bad night at the office and lost against Liam Paro, guess what? That was a learning curve for any fighter in the world. And Subriel Matias' ambition and what he's showing as a fighter, as long as he stays the course, I really do believe in my hearts of hearts, and not just because I'm Puerto Rican, that Subriel Matias not only possesses the skills, but also the desire and the will that it takes to become a champion once again. I believe Subriel Matias was, he was distracted by all the distractions that it comes to being a champion. And I believe he learned something from that. And Subriel Matias is one of the only fighters I can honestly say that truly he's making his way back up the ranking the legitimate way. He's not losing his belt and staying the number one contender and in a previous fight just get a shot at the world title. No, Subriel Matias went back to those rinky-dink places, right? And those little shit hole corners of the earth. And it seemed like, bro, he didn't want anything handed to him. He didn't want to be like, oh, me. Subriel went and took the fights that they picked for him. Remember, even in his defeat, they could say everything they want. But publicly, nobody's going to address that he's still the boogeyman at 140 pounds. And he's still a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous adversary. Although a lot of people say that the kryptonite to Subriel Matias is a great boxer. Really? Really? That's his kryptonite? So Jeremy Ponce is not a boxer? The guy last night didn't try to box with Subriel and brute strength. What happens is, unless you're grabbing him all night like Liam Paro, you're going to be forced to exchange with him. And as we all know, clinching is illegal in the sport of boxing. So the amount of grabbing that Paro did in that ring in Puerto Rico is going to be apparent that Subriel's judges are going to notify them. The only thing we're worried about is the guy grabbing. And if he grabs too much, we want points deducted. because you're not supposed to clinch like that in boxing. The fact that they let that go on all night in Puerto Rico, I was a little thrown back by it. Being in Subriel Matias's hometown, that's what he basically did to like nullify Subriel's offense. He grabbed him. It was a smart move, I got to admit, and it awarded him the victory. But that's not going to happen every time. You will be in the ring on that night with a referee that does not tolerate grabbing. And once you can't grab Subriel Matias, good luck. Good luck. My man looked, yo, frontline, I'm not even bullshitting. After like the third, fourth round, I legitimately looked at the dude and I was like, what round is it? I was like, is it the 10th round? Is it the 11th round? It was like the third round. I was like, this dude looks like he's been in a fucking war. And you could have damaged that guy, bro. It looked like Subriel Matias at some point started to feel bad for him. He was quickly reminded that he was in a fight when the guy would snap a punch back to Subriel, and Subriel was like, well, fuck, I'm trying to do you a favor, but you keep punching me in the face like that, well, then I'm just going to smash your face. I think Subriel, at some point in the fight, I was watching it, you guys know I don't do it with no hearing. I don't hear the commentating. So everything I'm telling you is coming from what I saw. You guys know how I do. So what I was seeing was, I'm not sure if the commentator said anything about this. I don't know if they did, if they didn't. I'm not going by what was said. I'm going by what I saw. And what I saw was Subriel like start to let up on the action. Not sure if they picked up on it or anybody. He looked like he didn't want to punch him. The way Subriel was punching in the early part, like from round two, even in round one, he was doing good, but he always loses like the round one. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with him. He doesn't win much of round ones, I don't think. Maybe he does, but I don't think he does. Statistically, they might have him winning a lot of rounds. Honestly, my opinion, I can't remember the last time Subriel won the first round. Tell you the truth, if I'm being honest, I don't know if I'm revealing something right now, but he does it. And then what happened was, I was saying to myself, he looks like he's reluctant to hit this guy. Is that night with Dervichek playing back in his head? Me and Frontline talked a little bit about it. I didn't see the fight, and he was telling me about it. And when I watched it, that was the first thing I thought. That's why I told Frontline, don't say nothing to me, because I don't like to be influenced by other people's words. I need to see it for myself, and I'll tell you what I see. That's all I can do. So when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, Frontline looks like he was right. He does look a little like he doesn't want to hit this guy. And then the way he fell to his knees, it wasn't like he was grateful to get a win. It looked like he fell to his knees for the other guy. For damn it, please, somebody stop this fight. I don't want to keep beating you like this. Like it looked like to me anyway, Subriel dropped to his knees and thanks that the fight was finally over for him. Not that he was afraid that he was going to lose the fight. It wasn't like he was dropping to his knees going, yeah, I did it. Shit, I don't think there was a point in his mind he thought he was losing the fight. So I don't think it was that kind of thing. I think he was actually thankful that the fight was over and that he didn't have to keep beating on this man. He didn't want another accident to happen. And Max Dervichek's situation, relive it again. And we all know in boxing, you try to allow this guy to go out there and go out on his shield. You don't stop the fight 1 or 2 rounds early. It could be life-changing. You may never ever fight again. A lot of fighters have been in these kind of situations. Shit. That fight with Chris Eubank Jr. there, that guy died in the hospital and he got brought back to life, and he's never going to fight again. They should have stopped that fight. There were a lot of fights. They should have stopped. And then if you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. You stop the fight, the fighter goes, no, I got more in me. Oh, the ref is bought. Bah, 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 bah. You know? Then you turn around and you stop a fight with Rolly and the old man there, and you go back on the video and you watch the closing seconds of why they stopped the fight, and you realize Rolly missed every shot and they stopped the fight. I don't know. Do you think that Tio wants to go through Matias? Look, I'm not sure what's up with Tio. I think that Teofimo Lopez situation is starting to really cook up on the politics side, if you know what I mean. Meaning the situation that Top Rank finds themselves in with the whistleblower and revealing a lot of things. Teofimo Lopez's name came up in all of that. You guys know this, right? And he said a lot about Tio, and it's making Tio not look so crazy now. Like conspiracy theory crazy. A lot of the shit Tio was accusing Top Rank of, the whistleblower came out and confirmed it. Yup, Tio was right, he said. We did this, this, and this. We dressed it up like everything was all right with Tio, and we were trying to ruin his fight. Keep it down. These are the kind of tactics that Top Rank, so that on your next fight, Top Rank could say, we'll still pay you less. Type shit. And then they capitalize on a big night. And Top Rank takes the bigger part of the bag. Because they knew he was going to have a big night the next one. But they dressed this one up to convince him that he wasn't getting the sales. So they can get the big. So Tio is not looking so fucking crazy. Because I've checked into some of the background on Top Rank. I just don't choose to talk about the politics. There's a lot of things going on over there, but politics can change. They can silence this whistleblower up tomorrow. All this shit will go away tomorrow. It's a big bill. Yeah. This whistleblower dude is talking about they owe him somewhere between 20 million and 25 million. Somewhere in between there. It's a lot of fucking money. I guess you guys owe him, and I don't know how you let the tab get up that much. I wouldn't have let it get to $1 million before I would have been in your office. Yo, where the fuck is my money? Forget it, 20. How did you get to 20 million? That they owed you that much money? How do you ever get there? I don't know. I don't know, but they can silence all this. If Bob Arum lifts a finger, because remember, Bob Arum's not been at the helm of Top Rank for 5, 6, 7 years. His stepson has been, running all the affairs in Top Rank. Bob Arum just shows up to the fights. And he always shows up to Naoya Inoue fights because he loves boxing. So if Bob Arum steps back in, fixes a couple of these things that this dumbass has been like rocking Top Rank right now, and the situation with the cannon hands, the mafia, I mean, it's so messy. It is really so messy. That's why I don't even talk about it like that, right? But yeah, Teofimo Lopez is definitely, what's up, Mr. Miyagi? How you doing? Another 5-piece in the super chat. Fights for this year at 140. Subriel Matias versus Richard Henderson. Andy versus Gary Antoine Russell. Both would be fights I'm tuning into. Yes, very much so. Can we get these fighters to sign up? Can we get Richard Henderson to say yes to Subriel Matias right now? Or is that the IBF is going to have to really twist his arm? Richard Henderson will probably try to, take a fight in between time. What does this mean? Andy is the number one contender to Gary Antoine Russell's newly acquired WBA World Championship. So that's just going to be a matter of time, to tell you the truth. But the WBA does have a longer mandatory line, meaning the IBF tells you you got to fight at least one mandatory a year, and then you're kind of free to take two more fights that year. But you got to still, as a champion, you can't go underneath the top 15. That's it's supposed to be that way. Those are like the real rules. So Andy right now, he can put in, but Gary Antoine Russell, I mean, he could accept the fight to try to come back. Jose Rayo Valenzuela, do you think there's going to be a rematch with that? Do you think he's going to come back for his belt? I don't think he just fades off into obscurity here. The WBC right now, Sandor Martin still the number one. Dalton Smith is number two. Isaac Pitbull Cruz is number three. Lindolfo Delegado is number four. Josh Taylor is number five. Number six is Liam Paro. Number seven is Subriel Matias for the WBC in order right now. For Gary Antoine Russell, he has Andy. Carrington is number two. And Kenny Sims, Isa Pitbull Cruz, number four. No number five. Nesto Bravo is number six. Nesto Bravo lost. Jack Catterall, yeah, he did lose. He went down. Jack Catterall is underneath him, and Rolly Ramirez is number 8. Wow, the rankings moved around a little. Yeah, because of Gary Antoine Russell. Alfredo Santiago is the number 1, the Teals belt. Arnold Barboza is the interim. Isa Pitbull Cruz is the number 2. Jack Catterall is the number 3, and Subriel Matias is number 4. So Subriel Matias is not like his first campaign where he only enlisted in the IBF. Subriel Matias is not getting any younger, so that you can see that he's already enrolled in other organizations, just in case the other champions try to avoid him. He can move himself in line and be in position. We're all steady looking at Richard Hitchison being his next fighter. Why? Because for the IBF, there's no number 1 and number 2. Technically, if you want to keep it funky, Subriel Matias is the number 1. And because of this victory last night, they should fix this and legitimately put him and award him the number 1 spot. But as of right now, he stays at number 3 with no number 2 or number 1 available, which makes him the real number 1. Okay? But Subriel Matias is ranked in the WBO number 4. He is ranked for the WBC number 7. And he is not ranked in the WBA. He doesn't enroll in the WBA. And in the IBF, he is currently the number 1. So those are some good fights for the futures, guys. Who do you guys want to see in the 140-pound? Mr. Miyagi already shared 2 fights right there, which I am in agreement with. Yes, those are 2 excellent fights right there. But I do want to see Subriel Matias compete for another world title. Yes, I want to see him get his crack at a world title. George Camboza has been in boxing news of late, talking a little smack here and there. So I like it. It's really entertaining for the sport. Another fighter right now that I believe that potentially can fight Subriel Matias in a later time, even if he was to captivate the 140-pound IBF champion or any champion, is Elvis Rodriguez. Elvis Rodriguez had a lot to say about Subriel Matias, and I want to see that fight too as well. So yeah, man, absolutely. But as far as the 135-pound weight division, guys, it is what it is. It's stalling out. Tank, come back to 135 and stop jumping around everywhere else. So that's what I had to say about that. As far as Naoya Inoue, the Japanese superstar. Okay, now I had to go around and check on to see what man would step up and fight the Japanese superstar. Everything I've always said about the Japanese superstar, it seems like it's coming full circle. I'm not so much sitting here saying, you know, I try to tell you so or anything. I knew this. I knew it. He was the real deal from the moment I saw him. And I knew he's a force to be reckoned with. And what really helped Naoya Inoue, and I'm always going to say this, I'll never change this perception I have of Naoya Inoue. The reason why he got a real quick, well, I wouldn't say the quickest rise, but he got the champions to fight him. It was his appearance. His appearance. When you look at him, he doesn't look like that killer, like that, everything, that monster that they talk about until you're in the ring with him. Then you realize what they were talking about, and by then it's typically too late. Naoya Inoue is really a skilled fighter, and if we were judging him on a human standard, he's pretty damn awesome. He's pretty damn awesome. He fights the fights he needs to fight, and now the cat is out of the bag. You know, I made a video and I put up what David Picasso's father, team, what they felt like. They were very honest with their assessment, a little too honest for me in the sport of boxing, where that his father made it clear, I don't want my son fighting him right now. I want him to vacate the belt and move on, so that way my son doesn't have to fight such a strong champion. And if he leaves the 122-pound weight division, that's the way I know my son will be a champion. I was like, what? Did you just like write your own duck letter? Like while he was typing, like the song DuckTales woo, was playing in the background. He was a little too honest, but very honest for his son. There are levels to this. And his dad was like, my son's not on his level. Why would I just send my son out there to get obliterated when I could see he's just that much better than him? My son needs to get better. And with 32 professional fights, when is your son going to get better? When is he going to get better? I don't think he's ever going to reach there. So sometimes it's either sink or swim in these kind of situations. So Naoya Inoue and Bob Arum are looking for a late, I wouldn't say a late replacement. We're not even towards the May. What I mean by late, and what I was going to refer to, was they were going to have to late replace a Mexican fighter. Because what they're looking for wasn't just any opponent. They're looking for a Mexican opponent in particular. Alan David Picasso was the #1 Mexican opponent for the WBC, and it was perfect. Because when Naoya Inoue is going to make his American return to America, it was going to be during the May 4th Cinco de Mayo weekend with Saul, which Naoya Inoue was going to fight on Friday, I believe, and they would fight, and Saul would fight on his Mexican independent holiday. Teofimo Lopez was going to fight Arnold Barboza in New York City in Times Square. So it was going to be a weekend of boxing, a lot of good boxing. So what they wanted to do is introduce Naoya Inoue to America, but also put him in against a Mexican fighter, which makes dollars and cents for the Mexican weekend holiday that he would be fighting in. So for promotion, they wanted a Mexican fighter. It wasn't so much they wanted the next #1 guy. It wasn't like they were like going to say, okay, MJ, you deserve the shot now. Let's go. No, they were looking specifically for Mexican fighters. And the two Mexican fighters that were available and were offered the fight out of the two, Roman Cardenas answered the call. They're in I'm doing this live right now with you guys. They're in the final stages of finalizing the fight, and it will be announced shortly. So Roman Cardenas is the number one, I would say, for the WBA, because it goes Naoya Inoue has the title at 122. Akmadalia has the interim title at 122, and the the number one slot for there is vacant, and the number two person is Roman. So technically, he's really the number one. Yeah, they got him as a number 1-2 ranking, but the WBA don't have no number one at 122. Yeah, so he is the next viable opponent for Naoya Inoue, and he has the highest ranked among the Mexican fighters. That's why I thought he would win it, but he would have to accept the fight, and I believe he has accepted the fight, from what I'm being told. Yeah, and it's in the final stages right now. They got further along in the last few days with this guy than they did with Alan Picasso or Marlon Tapales ever. Yeah, and that goes to show that the other guy wants to smoke. He wants to fight. Yeah, so Naoya Inoue is going to be making his ring return to America, and I'm confident in this announcement. That's how confident I am. You guys know how I am. I just don't be announcing shit. And you guys know how I got my little connects in here with Top Rank here and there. Yeah, I made some phone calls. Yeah, and I read some articles, and it all points to this guy. And Top Rank and them are going to try to capitalize on the Mexican fan base to bring eyes to Naoya Inoue. Because the Mexicans, they love fighting just as much as all of us. And it's a good fan base to bring Naoya Inoue into. And if he could catch some of them with his spectacular performances, Naoya Inoue is going to go out there. And you can count on one thing with this Japanese superstar, that every time you see him, he's going to bring the best version of himself. I always have confidence in him. He's not the kind of fighter that I'm sitting back nervous saying, is he going to let us down? I said this about Ryo going into this fight with Gary Antoine Russell. I called it too. There are a lot of situations in boxing you're going to hear me call, and sometimes I don't address them, but that's just me. That's me. Remind me, and I'll discuss these things with you, but that's me because I already feel like I see this. I'm already on the next, reporting the next thing. I'm not one of those guys that sit on all day just patting himself on the back because he got one thing right. You've probably heard me say a lot of things and you're like, wow, I would never came out and addressed that or this. No, sometimes not on purpose. Sometimes I forget, yes, but I'm so busy already pushing for the next thing. I'm not the type of guy that's going to sit here over and over and just, keep, stroking his own ego. My show is based on education and it's based off of you guys. You guys are my boxing community. You guys are my eyes and ears. Shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably the dumbest person on this platform. You guys are smart. Not me. I merely do homework and report and I try my best. But I know some of you guys out there are real smartly and well versed in boxing. And I try to be. But for as much as I know, I always bring myself down. You can learn more, Edwin. You can learn more. I'm not always the best at the name callings and pronouncing it. I'm working on it. But that's where I'm at with boxing. I'm always looking and breaking down fights. I love the sweet science. I love a little bit of controversy. Who doesn't? And we all add that into the formula, and I come out with the show. But as far as fights, man, you got to admit, Naoya Inoue will truly give you your money's worth. And from as much as I studied him, that's why I support him so much. You know, I might as well just officially make this a Naoya Inoue channel. Like, come get your Naoya Inoue news here. Just announce it to the public. Maybe I just did, right? Because I will always continue to support that man for the fighter that he is in and out of the ring. What he does for this sport is so much more on a bigger, broader scale that some of these people won't be able to understand it. And why is Armando calling me right now? What's up, brother? Oh, I did. Oh, thank you, brother. Oh my God. I haven't gone all the way down. Miss, thank you. Bye. Thank you, Armando. He knows when I do that dumb stuff that I scroll up, start answering, and I'm thinking that my chats are right there. Sorry, Mr. Miyagi, and thank you for your super chats. Thank you. Let me put out Mr. Miyagi's super chats. Armando, you're the man. Mr. Miyagi says fights for this year at 140. Yep, I saw that one. Okay. After them two fights, you could do a unification out of the two. Ooh. I think that would be a great fight. I think Frontline said something or alluded to something like that last night too as well, Mr. Miyagi. Yeah, listen. He's in the witness protection program. MJ, that's where he is right now. No one in the world can find MJ. He's in the witness protection program. He's hiding out from the Naoya Inoue, the monster. He sure the hell is. Mattia had mercy on his opponent. He damn sure did. And it cost him a few big shots from the dude. He was a little laxy daisy. Like he didn't want to hit the guy. And the guy was like, pow, pow. Mattia was like, bro, I'm trying to be cool with you. And you still trying to hit me like that? Like, here we go. And when you have to see rumors of Espinoza might be on the undercard of Naoya in Vegas. Yeah, I heard that. Thank you for reminding me about that. Yes, I did hear those rumors, and it's no rumor. Espinoza will be fighting on that undercard. Yes, he will. That is no rumor. Bob Arum likes to do that, and he also likes Junto Nakatoni. You guys know this. Junto seems to be on the line. He wants to stay at 118 to try to unify all the belts. I think he can do it, right? So as far as Junto, I was saying to myself, nah, I think Junto's locked in there. Because all those announcements they were saying, you know, it was supposed to be Deli, Picasso, MJ, Nick Ball in December. That's what it was supposed to be. Now that we're seeing in real time, these guys are not so eager to fight Naoya Inoue. They ain't so eager to hop in that ring with him. And you're starting to see the top guys, and Homeboy's father was like, he was a little too honest, I said. He straight up said it. Like, I'd rather wait for him to vacate because I don't want my son fighting such a strong champion. I was like, bro, you can't get more honest than that. I got to respect that. I was like, fine. I see your son's avoiding him. At least you're not chickening. You're not a chicken shit. I can't say that Alan Picasso is a duck. When you're being honest and you're saying, no, I don't want the smoke, do we call you a duck? And when you be fake and say that you want the smoke but don't take the fight, do we call you a duck? Which way do you get credibility as a fighter for being honest? Tell me. At what point you won't be called a duck? I commend the kid, although, I'm looking at it, I'm like, damn, you got 32 fights. If you're not ready now, I don't think you'll ever be ready for Naoya Inoue, right? But maybe he never will be. And at least they're being honest with it. They're not being fake, hiding behind some fake, mysterious #1 ranking and claiming that one of the greatest talents we have at our era is ducking you. What makes you so threatening, MJ? How many belts do you have? Wow, if this guy's ducking you, you must be an amazing champion. How many fights you got? 12, 13. What? What's his record right now? Was it 13 fights? So you must all have all the belts. You must be dangerous. How many belts do you have? An interim. Who the hell is dressing this guy up? They got glass slippers on him, a nice dress. They got blush on him, lipstick. He looks real pretty. They dressed MJ up real nice, didn't they? And then the reason why they're saying that MJ is not taking this fight right now, why? Rumors are saying that he's supposed to fight Naoya Inoue in September. If you got a fight scheduled in September, right? Why don't you push up your deadline and fight Naoya Inoue in one of the biggest places to box, the Mecca of boxing, Las Vegas, the MG Grand, all those kind of places that made boxing like historical, all those hotels, we've seen them over the years. Would you not give up your September date to fight in a better venue? Or is that September date also in Las Vegas? Or would he have to go out to Japan? Because once Naoya Inoue comes out here, he might go to Saudi. You might have to fight him in Riyadh season. And that might be a better stage than, come to think about it, the September date in Riyadh season for Marlon Tapales, and you got Turkey behind you. If I think about it that way, I might take the Riyadh fight, right? If I'm thinking about it, legacy and talking shit and proving to the world that I'm about to beat the monster, I'd take the fight in May. Riyadh season can be the rematch between me and Naoya Inoue, and it would be that much bigger. If you really think he's ducking you and avoiding you because of what, you must be able to beat him, right? Well, then take that May 4th date, whoop Naoya Inoue's ass. That's easier said than done, but I would like to see it. Do that, and then bring Naoya Inoue to Rio season on the rematch. You would get both wishes, MJ. But by not taking this May 4th card, right? Not only are you letting the boxing world know you a straight bitch, right? Because I'm just going to come out and say it. Because for all these things you and Ed Hearn had to say about one of the greatest talents in the world, that really pissed me off. Why? I hate when a sucker starts talking, running his mouth in front of the teacher or the popo. You know you can't do nothing right there, right? And all of a sudden he gets loud when the cops are around or the you've probably been in a situation like that. All right? And I hated that. Because I knew in that moment, bro, you're only running your mouth because either the teacher's here, the police is here, somebody here to defend you, and now you talking out the side of your neck. My man, you know? So let me finish my thought. And I'm just like, I hate that shit. I hate when a sucker's talking about a real one. You know them people that talk about you when you're not around, or if you're not here to defend yourself, they'll have a lot to say. The minute you walk in that room, when you get in their face, Crickets. I hate that shit, bro. Don't dress it up like you can whoop my ass. Cause I'm gonna walk upon you. I'm gonna let you know. All that acting you're doing, all that loud rah 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 rah, all that. Walk around this building right here. Just me say, don't have to alert people, nothing. I'm gonna drag you around this corner, bro. I'm gonna do a number on you. You know, I always hated that in my life when people would talk behind your back, or they would act up in front of people, acting like they needed to save you from him. Nah, just get out the way. I'll show you. Move out the way and I'll show you. You know, I always hated that shit. I didn't like that when they were trying to make Naoya Inoue look like this fighter that he was avoiding and scared. What? Thank you, Mr. Miyagi, for the 5-piece in the super chat. MJ really likes fighting in September. Doesn't he just like didn't did he try to get in that Wembley fight in September? Thank you, Mr. Miyagi. He I think he did. Remember, yeah, that was the same time last year. You're right. Yeah. Remember when MJ first tried that bullshit on Naoya Inoue, and Naoya Inoue had a dog check him, right? Meaning MJ tried to tell Naoya Inoue when the fight was going to be, the when and the where. Same thing that Sam Goodman and them try to sell to you guys. Remember? I'm gonna work a memory. Remember way back when Sam Goodman and his coach, the manager it was, made that interview and said that Naoya Inoue was going to have to travel to Australia to fight him? That if he wanted a shot at Sam Goodman, Naoya Inoue had to go to Australia. And I was telling you guys, I was saying, fucking Sam Goodman is not a shot caller. This is the Naoya Inoue train. How do these guys think that when they say jump, Naoya Inoue is going to jump? I was like, what fucking, these guys are delusional. I was like, that's never going to happen, guys. Naoya Inoue is not going to Australia to fight Sam Goodman. And then Sam Goodman tried to turn around and tell Naoya Inoue when he was going to fight. Sam Goodman said, no, I'm going to take a tune-up fight. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. And then I'm going to fight you on this date. Naoya Inoue looked at him and was like, what? No, I'm going to fight on this day. Then I'm just going to get an opponent. Enters TJ Doheny. I'm going to whoop his ass in preparation to bust your ass later on. There've been a lot of fighters try to come to Naoya Inoue and think they're going to dictate. That's not going to happen, bro. You haven't done Naoya Inoue shit. You're not the A side. You shouldn't shot call. You're not the highest paid here. You're not the champion here. Nothing in this situation's merited any of this shit talking that these guys think that they're calling the shots. And I told you guys way back then, I got receipts. You guys can go through my archives and call me on this, right? Wasn't I the one that told you that if John Casamera doesn't stop playing his games, he's going to miss the Naoya Inoue train? And that the Naoya Inoue train doesn't stop moving for no one. Didn't I tell you guys that? When you guys were all out here yelling, he needs to fight John Casamera. He needs to fight John Casamera, this, that. And we were watching John Casamera in real time. Every fucking move that man made was the next wrong one after the wrong one. And he really thought that Naoya Inoue was going to put his career on hold for him. Meaning, who got John Casamera stripped? He did. Who got John Casamera suspended? He did. What was John Casamera doing in the Philippines drinking, not protecting his health. Who caught that disease? John Casamara did. John Casamara legitimately looked at Naoya Inoue's team, and the only thing they had left was a bluff. Yo, okay, wait for me at the end of the year and I'll fight you. Naoya Inoue looked at him and was like, bro, you had your opportunity. You priced yourself out. You asked for all this money. And when Naoya Inoue told Bob Arum, you know what? Take money from my purse. Give it to John Casamara so that we can make this fight happen. And John Casamara, instead of taking the fight at that time, he goes off, gets himself suspended. He gets stripped for his title. He falls into like drinking and all this. Naoya Inoue was like, bro, you fell apart. I'm not going to sit around and wait on a shelf for a year to do your suspension with you, like Devin Haney did with Ryan Garcia. Dumbass. You don't let another person move you. You're not moved by that person. Naoya Inoue isn't a champion because he needs his validation from John Casamara. That's not so. If you're not doing your part, guess what Naoya Inoue is doing? He's definitely doing his part. And that Naoya Inoue sweepstakes train was going that way. How are you going to deny, like David Allen Picasso, probably the highest payday you would ever make in the sport of boxing at that weight division? Let me tell you guys, those guys are not making the kind of money the glamour division some guys are making. Gervonta Davis, the star of the world, got paid $3.35, whatever it was, $1 million to fight Lamont Roach. And Naoya Inoue got paid almost $7 million his last fight. What he gets off the back end, that's all his business. I know Forbes magazine has athletic boxers in 2024. He made $42 million, and 35 of that was done by himself in that Tokyo arena in 2 fights. He made $35 million. That's what he really made in boxing. The rest of the revenue that he got that made that 42 was the money that Turkey was paying him to be an ambassador, to wear the shirt. That's where it goes up to 42. But he made 35 of that by himself. He didn't need Turkey. Not like Tyson Fury did. Not like AJ does. I don't think that Tyson Fury, Usyk, and all those guys make that much money without Turkey. Turkey a la sheep. Naoya Inoue made 35 of that by himself. He didn't need Turkey. There was no Riyadh season in Japan. That was all Naoya Inoue filling up that fucking Tokyo arena with 55,000 fans. That was Naoya Inoue shit. He didn't need Turkey. He might need him now because it would be foolish to be Gervonta Davis, I would think, right? I don't think none of these fights make them kind of money without Turk. That's why I think he's good for the sport. I'm not going to go into the PBC today. Nah, not doing that shit. That's for another day. But as far as Naoya Inoue goes and what he's doing for the bantamweight and super bantamweight division and what this means for Bob Arum putting Espinoza on his undercard. Why? Naoya Inoue is going to get a close look at Espinoza. He's going to get a real close look, whether he's in the locker room or he's got his people out there in attendance. They take a look at him, come back, report to Naoya Inoue. It won't be like Naoya Inoue himself in the crowd. That might not happen. But Naoya Inoue's people, the people that they know what they're looking for, they're going to go out there and they're going to take a look at that young man up close in person. And I think that's all a ploy for a future possibility showdown against Naoya Inoue. Now, if we all thought that Tank Davis was, taking all these kind of fights, and whether or not Tank Davis can lose the weight and fight Naoya Inoue at 130 pounds, He weighed in at a 133 for his fight, a little bit lighter to fight a lighter guy. Kind of made sense because he knew that Lamont Roach would be that much faster, you know. And I think that Naoya Inoue, listen, they asked Lamont Roach. I saw the interview before anybody says it. Before anybody says it, I saw Lamont Roach's interview where he said, they said, if Naoya Inoue was to come to 130, he said, he better not come up here. He better not come up here. And then Lamont Roach quickly addressed Naoya Inoue. He let the world know, in fact, one, he respects Naoya Inoue. Two, he's a great fighter. Three, in fact, he's one of his favorite fighters. Naoya Inoue is your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. And although Lamont Roach is going to speak highly for himself, he's not going to shy away from the smoke, being the warrior that he is. And he was right in his assessment when he said, we're fighters. So the thought of this little guy coming up and beating me, I was like, I'll beat the brakes off this man, right? But it's funny, and the ironic thing was he was on course of doing the same thing he was talking about, meaning this little guy is coming up to fight Tank Davis. Lamont Roach was explaining the very thing he was going into a fight, but criticizing another fighter for doing. That's when you know the fighter is just locked in on himself. No question is going to be downed. He's superior in mindset. I can kick everybody's ass. He was already locked in that mode. He was explaining the situation he was in, but saying that the other guy had no chance of winning it. He was basically saying that he had no chance against Tank Davis then. Yeah. What was that? That's when Ed Hearn said he was ducking. Yeah, I read that one. Yup. Yup. Bro, only the Filipinos who live in the sticks are punching. Really? Really? Only the ones that live in the sticks? Most Filipinos don't like them? I'm not on that side of the world, my man, but I feel you on that one. I mean, Casamero hasn't been the best representative for the Filipino fighters. Not like when you have legendary fighters such as Manny Pacquiao, and those are some big shoes to try to, and John Casamero is trying to like win the fans over by this bad boy image that he's failing in. And in fact, he's been in some wars in the gym, some real WWE type boxing matches. Dudes starting to scoop each other up, throw elbows, real wild. I've seen Casamero in some like wild ass fights. But the persona of this bad boy guy that he puts on for the Filipinos, and sometimes it turns off a lot of fans when a lot of us love the purity of the sport and the honor and the respect that we show our competitors. It's not always veered like that in America. And sometimes some of these other countries start to try that American tactic. It doesn't stick a lot of places because we as warriors, we feel like you can be respectful, and respect your opponent and still whoop his ass with a smile. Naoya Inoue, Junto, all fighters like that do it every day. You don't see Junto Nakatoni, up there, or Bam Bam Rodriguez, up there like, fuck you, or this, that, blah, 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 like trying to sell a fight. You don't see them doing that. Those are fighters that really, like love the sport But unfortunately, their managers are telling them, yo, you got to talk a little shit. You got to do this in order to promote yourself. And then you see it come out kind of fake. It's kind of like pushed to try to like be this shit talking tough guy. You're really not. Some of these fighters came in the sport and all they wanted to do is fight. And all of a sudden, someone taps them on the shoulder and says, now you got to talk shit. You know, where's the honor in that? So sometimes that turns off some fans. We can do without you talking about his wife and his kids and what money you're making over him and what watch you bought and what girl you're screwing. We can do without all that shit. Basic, normal boxing shit talking, I'm with it. I'm going to bust your ass. I'm going to break your jaw. When I see you in the ring, you know, it's not going to be inconvenient for you, for me. I'm busting your ass. You know, and that guy walking by you is like, yo, I'm going to kick your ass. But right now, it's inconvenient for me. So I'm going to keep going this way, right? Right? You know, and that's when you get all that fake shit. And it comes out, it doesn't sound as good, you know? I love real rivalries, real drama, real, like that Conor Ben, that he got smacked in the egg when the bodyguards grabbed Conor Ben. He lost his mind. You could see it in his eyes. He was going to attack Chris Eubank Jr. Yes, he was. And that builds for drama because it was real. You know, he really smacked him with that egg. It really took him by surprise. He was really embarrassed. He really wanted to come after him. It wasn't like, you know, you see the difference where that you see fighters like John Casamera and MJ. Naoya Inoue, you ducking me. Get the fuck. Where are you at right now? Right? I don't give a fuck if you like fighting in September. You got to take these opportunities when they come. And there's another case where MJ, what? He thinks what? He calls the shots. I'll fight you in September because what is that? My lucky month or something? What is that for MJ's people in September? Why is this so important for him in a fight in September? Elevate the day. Come fight me in May. Beat him and get a rematch. Let's get this popping, right? According to you, you're going to beat him, right? Either way, whether it be May, September, either way, MJ Akmadalia, on the day he enters the ring with Naoya Inoue, if he ever enters the ring with Naoya Inoue, because I'm still not convinced that he really wants it. I'm on the line. This was all a ploy and a gimmick by Ed Hearn to boost up his fighter so that when Naoya Inoue does vacate the belts and goes up to 126, what Ed Hearn and MJ's promoter, all them guys, the managers, what their plan is, what I really believe is that once he leaves, they're going to come out and say they scared off the toughest guy in the division. And who did it? MJ. So that you can sell him against anybody up there and try to make a little bit of money from the guy that Naoya Inoue was allegedly avoiding. So they're going to try to dress MJ up to make him look like this guy that chased off Naoya Inoue. That's why Naoya Inoue went to 126, because he didn't want to fight my fighter, Akmadalia, which is the baddest 122-pounder. I can already see it now. But situations like this pull his card. See, Alan Picasso and his team, they were honest with it. Yeah, I'm not ready for him. I want no part of that man. And MJ's trying to play the role, you know. And Sam Goodman, where the fuck is Sam Goodman with those 2 number 1 rankings? I heard they took the WBO ranking from him. Yes, they did. They got Martin. They got Martin as Naoya Inoue's WBO. Yes, they did. And Sam Goodman's number 2. So he lost his number one ranking for the WBO, but he maintained his number one ranking for the IBF. That means that reveals something right there for you. Do the power elimination, guys. That means that when he was going up against Naoya Inoue, and he had two number one rankings, he had one for the WBO, one for the IBF. That means that the WBO is next in line, not the IBF. The IBF couldn't strip them of their ranking because their turn hadn't came around. So if the order stands, we're at the IBO, then we went to the WBC for Alan Picasso. That's where we're at. Now we're going back around to the WBA, and it'll be MJ's turn after this. Now, interesting fact, guys. I want you to pay attention to this because these are the subtleties in boxing. Little pain in the ass, but I'm going to explain it to you. Remember when Naoya Inoue fought Luis Pantera Nari for the WBC number one? He wasn't a mandatory number one. He was a voluntary number one. Different situation. Although he voluntarily, he had the number one place, Naoya Inoue had an option to fight him. He took that option. Okay. Then Luis Pantera Nari goes down in the WBC. He's currently ranked number 3 right now. Okay, I understand. Now, does this? Yeah, it does. I was going to say, does this move David Allen Picasso's spot for the number one? Like his father said, he wanted to keep his number one status. Here's the problem with this. I don't think David Allen Picasso put in the paperwork to be his mandatory. I think he was offered the fight. There's a difference. You being offered a fight, saying you're not ready, I don't know if you technically will lose your number one. In a lot of situations, they don't. They, in fact, keep their number one spot, which I think that you should be punished for that. That's the rule that the WBO just came up with. They're going to be enforcing, but the WBC does not have to do that. He can keep his number one ranking because it wasn't a mandatory. It wasn't, they offered it to him. So unfortunately, what I was going to come up with was thinking, does David Allen Picasso lose his number one ranking now? And does well, all the guys in the WBC anyway, besides Alan Picasso, Naoya Inoue scared off. He beat Marlon Tapales and he beat Luis Pantera Nari, which is the number one and number two. Sam Goodman is number 4. He doesn't want to fight Naoya Inoue. There are a couple nice undefeated fighters. A few people in my comments. I went and I always go and I check your guys' comments and stuff. A few of you guys hinted a couple undefeated fighters at 122 that could potentially fight Naoya Inoue. The problem with that, they haven't made them their way up higher. They got to do a little bit more proving to themselves to get up there. In the situation with the May 4th card, it's basically if you got a high ranking and you're Mexican, you might be the winner. Because this is not a fight where that top rank is pushing off for Naoya to move up in ranking. He's already at the pinnacle of his division. He's already the king of 122. So in Naoya Inoue situation, he can't go any higher. So now what you're going to try to capitalize is the money in the event of Mexican Independence Weekend. Understand? So their job is not to get Naoya Inoue an opponent where that can become a challenge. No, he's already beaten all the top guys at 122. There is nobody there, technically. We all want to see him go up to 126. But that's a decision he's going to have to make. When he feels ready, that's when I'll back him. I'm not gonna rush Naoya Inoue to do shit. He's been winning like this. He's got the formula. He knows what he's doing, him in his camp. I'm a fan. Whatever you want to do, baby. Because according to me, you've already checked off all the boxes so far for this weight division. When we get into a new weight division, that opens a whole new can of whoop ass. Then he's gonna have to prove himself there. But as far as 122, I'm sitting back like, do what you want. You done beat Stephen Kubo Fulton. You done beat Marlon Tapales. You got all the belts. You defended all 4 belts 3 times already. I'm sitting here like this. Do whatever you want, homeboy. Whoever they can convince to get in the ring with you, just tell me the name later. Whatever victim you guys got. This man is focused, dedicated. So at 122, no. 126, that's gonna I gotta see Naoya Inoue at 126 against Nick Ball, the Espinosas of the world. Angela Leo got a fight in May too. Wow, that's interesting. Wait a minute. Angela Leo fights May 24th, doesn't he? Right? Angelo fights in May. What other 122 pounder I was watching today or yesterday? I was looking up some fights, and I remember now. There's a couple fights popping off in May too. So I know Leo, yeah, because if Naoya Inoue stays on course and he fights in May, he could fight one of the guys at 126. He'll have Espinoza on the card. So Espinoza's gonna be fighting and Leo's gonna be fighting in May. Nick Ball's going against that fight against TJ Doheny, and I think that's still on. I haven't heard any cancellation on that. Right? So he's going to try to fight Leo. He's going to try to fight Leo. That's what he's doing. He's going to try to fight Angelo Leo. Naoya Inoue. He's going to move up to 126, and I'm saying it right now. I'm calling it. Although the Nick Ball fight was the one that was being thrown around, Nick Ball was actually like on a 3-fight type talking negotiation. As we can see, everything doesn't go as planned. The Nick Ball is what Top Rank and reporters were saying. I never heard Naoya Inoue or his father say Nick Ball. I heard Naoya Inoue say that Nick Ball is a strong fighter when they asked him in an interview. I didn't hear him start a conversation saying, I want to fight Nick Ball. Whenever Nick Ball's name came up, it was because someone was asking Naoya that. Whenever Naoya Inoue is hunting for an opponent, he does certain things. Like they started saying that Shushu Carrington was a viable opponent. For shit, Naoya Inoue sat in attendance at his fight, got up and walked away because he wasn't impressed. Okay? Naoya Inoue, Leo had a lot to say about Naoya Inoue. In that interview, I remembered. If Espinoza's gonna fight homeboy, he ain't gonna be ready. Nick Ball's he's gonna fucking fight Leo. Angelo Leo. Stephen Kubo Fulton is not gonna I think he was gonna fight. He would have to fight Ray Vargas in order to settle that differences with the WBC organization. Right? I thought that he would have to fight Ray Vargas. Brandon Figueroa there was a little controversy behind his belt because leading into the fight with Stephen Kubo Fulton, I wasn't sure. Some people were calling Brandon Figueroa the champion at 126 pounds for the WBC, but I really didn't see that the WBC moved on from Ray Vargas. I didn't see anything. And then one guy tweeted out that he was the full champion. But I didn't see that the WBC tweeted that out. And sometimes we got to watch where we get our sources from. What's up, Mr. Miyagi? Thank you. Right? And so I thought that Stephen Kubo Fulton was going to handle his business with Ray Vargas after that fight with Brandon Figueroa on the low. I thought that he needed to step up, or Ray Vargas needed to go that way in his career. And I don't think that Stephen Kubo Fulton is anxious to sign up against Naoya Inoue. Espinoza, for some reason, I thought he would probably be the WBO, the way to go. I think he might be saving him for last. And then Nick Ball's name came up. Bruce Carrington, Bruce Carrington would actually be a pretty good fight for Stephen Kubo Fulton. Although I think Stephen Kubo Fulton might beat Bruce Carrington, to tell you the truth. Bruce Carrington is the number 1 for the WBC and the WBO. And Bruce Carrington is the number 2 to Nick Ball's belt, which actually for Nick Ball's belt, there is no number 1. So that kind of puts Bruce Carrington the first. And Bruce Carrington is ranked number 4 for the IBF. So he's number 1 for the WBO, number 1 for the WBC, number 2, but really number 1 for the WBA, and he's number 4 for the IBF, Bruce Carrington. So he's got a lot of opportunities there too. Maybe he might fight one of these champions. Who knows? Maybe in the future, Naoya Inoue could possibly fight Bruce Carrington. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Unless you have a belt or you have something that Naoya Inoue wants, he's not going to fight you. He's not the type of fighter that he's in his career that he needs to take any gimme fights, any kind of, as you can see, the only reason why Naoya Inoue is be given these fights for 2 reasons. 1, the other guys are avoiding him, and 2, he needs to stay active. He's not the type of fighter that's gonna say, "Oh, I didn't get MJ, so let me just sit here for a year and wait until MJ's ready to fight me." He's not doing that. He's gonna take the TJ Doheny's of the world, the Yi Young Kim. You know what? You might not rightfully deserve this opportunity, Yi Young Kim or TJ Doheny, but guess what? You got it. You got your opportunity. Now it's time for you to show up and show out, right? Right. So, Naoya Inoue doesn't shy away from it. He didn't look at TJ Doheny and Yi Young Kim and say, "You know what? You don't deserve to be here with me." He simply bowed his head and thanked them for taking the fight. Let's go fight. That's it. Mr. Miyagi, thank you for supporting the channel and dropping that 5P is in the super chat. What's he got to say? Imagine if the 126 gets shaken up. Ball gets beat by Doheny. Oh my God. Are you causing yeah. How bad would that be for Nick Ball if he lost to TJ Doheny, bro? Damn, if Leo loses too with that fight that he has scheduled, shit. That could change a lot. The 126-pound weight division can change a lot. And I'm going to be like transparent with you guys. And it would just be logically the smartest thing to do, right? If Nick Ball was to fall to TJ Doheny, do I got to tell you that Naoya Inoue would try to challenge him? Do I gotta come out and tell you guys that? Or would you guys figure that shit out for yourselves? Right? That would be a no-brainer. If Naoya Inoue gave you a shot, TJ Doheny, at 4 belts, when you were about to just call it quits, TJ Doheny, an opportunity came a knocking. Naoya Inoue didn't shy away from you. In fact, he gave you a great payday, a good night out in Japan, and your name now is cemented in history with sharing the ring with Naoya Inoue. So when you look back at your career, TJ Doheny, you can honestly say, I shared the ring with possibly one of the best fighters to ever do it. I fought him, right? And I said all of that to say this, that TJ Doheny, if you win that belt and Naoya Inoue knocks on your door, don't be on no sucker shit and don't give him a shot. That would be some bullshit. Why? He gave you an opportunity at 4 belts. He gave you an opportunity, TJ Doheny, at your biggest payday. I don't want to hear you don't owe him shit. No, you owe Naoya Inoue. For everything, even though you lost, everything he just made your name to be. Listen, TJ Doheny, in fact, you owe him so much that the only reason why you're getting the Nick Ball fight is because you shared the ring with him. TJ Doheny, if you never fought Naoya Inoue, Nick Ball wouldn't have picked you for an opponent. So you even owe Naoya Inoue the opportunity that you got. It was because due in part to him. So just in case, TJ Doheny, if you was to shock the world and Naoya Inoue legitimately called you up and said, yo, I want a shot at that belt, give him a shot at the belt. One, you would have been one of the only 2 men to be awarded a second fight versus Naoya Inoue, right? You're also going to make a shitload of money fighting against them. What other fighter would you make that kind of money with, TJ Doheny? So if you happen to pull this shit off, don't be a little fucking girl, bro, about this shit. Like, if he called, man, let's give him his shot. Because I've seen sucker shit like that in boxing happen. One guy give you a shot and then you see each other in another division and he doesn't want to give you an opportunity. And he like runs with the belt on some sucker shit. Like, just in case, TJ Doheny pulls that off, I'm more on the line that Naoya Inoue in his camp would say, you know what? In our last fight, didn't you say that your back got thrown out? So you feel like, you know what I'm saying? Want to run it back? Yeah, want to run it back? You know what I mean? Salute, Jonathan. What's up? But he will get hit with some. Ball should win the fight, of course, against TJ Doheny. Of course, he should win. That's why when I emphasize the conversation and I use that word, it's really big. If that if is like that big, bro. You know what I mean? If he can beat Nick Ball, I don't think he'll beat Nick Ball. Nah, I don't think TJ Doheny got it in him to beat a force like Nick Ball. He's strong, he's powerful, he could take a shot, he's been hit by bigger guys. Doheny, he's a pretty decent fighter in his own right. He took Sam Goodman the 12 rounds, and I saw that fight, and I think that TJ Doheny put it on Sam Goodman in that fight. I really do. I think just that the boxing world was favoring the younger fighter, I guess. And to say that he can go out there and play spoiler, but just in case, I've seen crazier shit in boxing happen. All of a sudden, we're watching the match, and Nick Ball is fucking destroying TJ Doheny, and TJ Doheny starts going back on the rope, and Nick Ball bobs, and TJ catches him with an uppercut, and he goes out cold. I've seen it happen. So, just in case, I'm publicly putting it out there. Don't fucking run from Naoya Inoue if he asks you for that fight, my man. Give him the fight. If he gave you something, show him some in return. That's all. It's the same thing we saw with Tank and Rocha. Yeah, but it's the same thing, but with my version. It will be the same thing, just add my version into it. Meaning, yeah, Naoya Inoue fought TJ Doheny, but if the way he would fight him again would be a few years later. He answered in his division. He got the fights out of the way he needed to get out of the way. And if TJ Doheny would be successful, then they could relive that. It wouldn't be right back to back. Lamont Roach and Tank Davis fought. Yeah, great fight. But Tank Davis' obligation is to 135. If he goes up to 135, wipes out the rest of those guys. He fights the Shakur and Stevenson, the two fights we want. He gets that out of the way. You've pleased the massive. Now you got time for one of these kind of fights. That's where these fights right here, what you did spectacular, and the people that you beat buy you time with your fans for this fight. I would want to see the Lamont Roach fight again. Yes, not back to back. I wouldn't mind to see TJ Doheny fight Naoya Inoue again, even though he lost. The reason what would make him valuable would be him winning Nick Ball's belt at 126. Without that belt, TJ Doheny doesn't deserve to fight Naoya Inoue again. Same thing with like Donaire. Donaire fought him, lost his belt. The way Donaire got back in front of Naoya Inoue, he went out and won a belt. See, that situation is different. You got something he wants. There's something to fight for. In Tank Davis' situation, the only thing he's actually fighting for is respect back. He's not fighting for a belt. He's not fighting to win Lamont Roach's belt, right? So that's kind of why I didn't want it so fast. I enjoyed the Lamont Roach and Tank Davis fight a lot. I liked it. I do want to see it again. I do. Just not right now. The problem is that Tank Davis had a long list of people that have been standing in line waiting to fight him. Now all of a sudden Lamont Roach puts up this kind of performance. Does that stall things out again? I kind of feel like Tank Davis' career and his opponent's been stalled out for the past 10 years. And that was one of my biggest complaints. That it seemed like every time we got to put together a Tank Davis fight, an unfortunate cause of events never gets us to get these fights. Here we are 10 years later from the time I saw young-ass Tank's face next to young-ass Ryan Garcia, next to young-ass Devin Haney, next to young-ass Teofimo Lopez. All them dudes I watched grow up in boxing. They were babies when they walked in. Tank didn't have no tattoos, but a pink-ass heart tattooed right here. That corny-ass shit he had. Remember that? Right? And some of them corny-ass tattoos he had when he first came in and didn't have no money to get some real shit. Right? And Ryan Garcia looked like the boy wonder. Right? They were all young. Look at what Devin Haney looks like today. He looks like he's grown like a grown-ass man. Teofimo Lopez, Tank Davis, they all grew up. And we never got any of these fights out of Tank. Not one. The best you did, Tank, was Ryan Garcia that kept asking you for the fight. And then when Ryan Garcia got a little bit big, that Tank saw that he was moving the needle, now Tank wanted to fight. But the only reason why Tank took that fight, let's be honest with each other, is because Tank clearly felt like he was the better fighter. It wasn't like he took the Ryan Garcia fight. Tank went into that fight saying, this could be a tough fight. This could go either way. No, he took the Ryan Garcia fight on the pretense that Ryan wasn't on his level. Not even two, 3 levels behind him. So let's just be honest. That's why he took that fight with Ryan Garcia, and because he moves the needle. He sells a little with all that following, and he did. When Ryan comes back, he stands to make a lot of money. I really believe so. So much, in fact, that he was declared the cheater. The O was restored to Devin Haney, and the boxing world doesn't feel that Devin Haney should be the main event. The boxing business world still believes Ryan Garcia is a better draw than Devin Haney, the guy that didn't cheat in this sense. It goes to show you that ticket sales and popularity and fame, that's individual. I can't tell you why a fan loves that fighter. I can't. And who am I to tell that fan to stop loving that fighter? I don't know why people are attracted or migrate to certain people, and certain people that are doing it the best don't get all that attention. I don't know. I don't know why Tank Davis has that it factor. I don't know why Conor McGregor had it. I don't know why some men and women do it and other people don't. It's just the power of attraction, I guess. And some people make a lot of money off of that, So yeah, guys. Mr. Miyagi, what's up, brother? What you saying? But it's the same thing. Yeah, I read that one. Josh. Yeah. Fulton will be the reason Naoya gets to undisputed faster. Watch Fulton. I heard once a Leo unification this year. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous for such a fighter such as Naoya Inoue, right? My man, check it out, right? Joseph, check it out. If the more these fighters unify the belts, the faster Naoya Inoue is going to get to those belts. Rather than he would have to chase down 4 guys, if you did partial of the work, he comes and knocks you out, he takes both your belts like he did to Stephen Kubo Fulton the first time. Allow Stephen Kuz to do some of your work, then come in, knock him out, give me my belts, and I'm out. And the way he brutally knocked out Stephen Kubo Fulton, I believe the world remembers that shit. You know what I'm saying? I would like the Angelo Leo fight with Stephen Kubo Fulton because Angelo Leo was defeated by Stephen Kubo Fulton once upon a time in early of their career. In that fight, I remember Angelo Leo came in that fight with a leg brace, and he was basically a one-legged fighter. And with all that, he fought Stephen Kubo Fulton right there. Every round, he was still in front of Stephen Kubo Fulton. He just didn't have that burst because he didn't have 2 good wheels. And Stephen Kubo Fulton, he stayed moving. He stayed moving. He put a lot of pressure on Leo. Leo couldn't really evade. He took a lot of big shots. But Leo is not that fighter anymore that he was when he fought Stephen Kubo Fulton way back in the day when they were early part of their career. Leo has evolved as a fighter, and he has 2 good knees now. That fight right there in particular, I would like to see that fight back. I would like to see what Leo looks like against Stephen Kubo Fulton in the new version of Stephen Kubo Fulton now. Because one thing for sure, Stephen Kubo Fulton looks better at 126. He looks faster, sharper, a bit stronger. It sounds like a little bit more pop on his shots. And these guys are professionals, though. These are guys are professional fighters that have trained their bodies to take punches throughout years of amateur sparring. So this is not these guys that are just rolling out of bed. So when they say that Stephen Kubo Fulton is pillow fisted, I gotta disagree. He's not a knockout puncher, but he's definitely not pillow fisted. Okay, Stephen Kubo Fulton is gonna, he's got some snap to his punches. He does. He's just not a knockout artist. That's it. But at 126, his punch has been, getting that much stronger. Ask Brandon Figueroa how much stronger he felt that he was in the second fight versus the first fight. Although Brandon Figueroa did change up his fight plan, which I was like, man, maybe if you would have went in with the strategy you had in the first fight, maybe you would have did better. All this Brandon staying on the outside, he looks awkward. He's not that kind of boxer. He never was. And the reason why I get it now, why Brandon Figueroa always chose to go in the inside, is because he didn't want to be exposed for the boxer he wasn't. The one good thing that Brandon Figueroa did was mix it up well on the inside, and he was very strong. He took a lot of punches. He was tall for the division. But as soon as he tried to play that role as a boxer, Stephen Kubo Fulton picked that shit apart. He was like, you're trying to be something you're not. That's not your style of fighting. And Brandon, he should have just become himself. I didn't know he was that far off until he showed the world. I was like, no wonder he doesn't fucking stay on the outside and box. This motherfucker's awkward as shit. He's got like that hunchback. He's like sits back, like and throws like that. Yeah. It'll be a long 12 rounds, Mr. Miyagi. Yeah, I think Naoya can also unify at 130. Shit. You got fault in beating Leo? I don't know, man. The way Leo knocked Lopez out like that, man, he was like, boop! He got punching power. Leo got punching power, and he got one punch shot knockout power. That was one punch. He couldn't get up off the ground off one punch. So Leo's getting that much stronger. Stephen Kubo Fulton is probably the faster. He got the better twitch muscle reflexes than Leo. But Leo's going to try to time him. He's going to try to catch him. Leo's not that slow himself. He's fast. Respectably fast. I think Scooter might be that much faster, but the power is definitely on Leo's side. And power doesn't mean you always win fights. Yes, I know that. Okay? But I don't think Leo is the same fighter. That would be a great fight, in fact. I want to see that shit. The more I talk about it, and you guys remind me about fights, and I start, wait a minute, yeah, this guy did fight him, blah, blah, blah. The more I start to break down the fights inside of my head, and I will welcome that fight. But it would also be good for Naoya Inoue's situation, because that's a unification. If that fight was to occur within, any time now where they remain champion, both fighters, of course, that would be a unification. Whoever came out on top would be a future potential opponent for Naoya Inoue that's looking to come up. Now, What does this mean May 4th? Does Naoya Inoue finally call it a quits at 122? And he says, look, man, there's just nothing else here. I gotta go. I gotta go. Does he stick around for MJ? Does all MJ's antics and tactics were they revealed for you in real time? When Naoya Inoue has a fight scheduled, all these guys have something to say. Bro, the minute Alan David Picasso made it public that he was not fighting Naoya Inoue, bro, radio silence, Mayday, Mayday, MJ, come in, MJ. He's not coming in. MJ, Sam Goodman, where are... Breaking news, Sam Goodman reported another cut. Didn't he report a cut yesterday? It is a second cut. Both his eyes are cut right. Talk about bullshit, right? Yo, listen. Akmadalia, do you read me? Come in, Akmadalia. These guys don't want it, man. They don't want it, guys. He could be at 130, but for as much as Joseph, for as much as we like to fantasize, we saw him do it in 2 separate other weight divisions. We say to ourselves, he can do it again, right? It's not as easy as that when the guys already saw him do it. You got to remember that at some point, I don't like to talk about this shit. This is where sometimes I get into boxing. All right. Here's the thing, guys. I went down a different road in my head. It's a kind of road in boxing that, you don't like to admit exist in the sport of boxing. It's when the powers that behind the scenes, these are the men that you don't see, that they care about certain things in the sport of boxing. There are people that are in place. You don't have to tell them. You didn't ask them to do this. They're just doing this out of the love for their guy. There are a lot of people in the sport of boxing that will protect their legend, that are empowered, in fact, to protect their legend. And their job is to disrail or not make these fights happen, because a fighter such as Naoya Inoue is going to take their favorite fighter out of the record books. When you think about a situation of him unifying, sometimes, if you really look at the landscape, sometimes it's not due in part to these guys not having the ability to do it, but the situation always eluded them for some reason. It wasn't because of his skill that we didn't believe he can't do it. It's because now all of a sudden nobody signs up to fight him. And people are actually paying those guys to say no. They would rather pay Nick Ball a few $100,000. Here's $400,000 free. Just say no. Fight somebody else. It's not like they gotta wipe out millions of dollars or anything. It doesn't work that way. 100,000, 200,000 just to say no. And then you go on, and they're doing these things because they don't. Not everybody is happy Naoya Inoue is winning. Not everybody in the world is in agreement that they want to see him reach the maximum of his potential. Whenever a fighter or a sports guy or something gets too big, they knock him off that horse, it seems like. Whenever Floyd was on the verge of doing some serious shit, all of a sudden he got charges put on him and went to jail. Whenever he was threatening to take over the boxing world, the military came and said, you got to do 3 years here. Was he ever the same when he came back? There are certain things in sports that you really got to look at and be like, come on, man. Had that not happened, had this not happened, had Errol Spence Jr.'s car didn't flip so many times. And I don't want to go down that road, conspiracy theory type shit, but I know this does exist. I know it for a fact. There are people in this sport that do not want him to win. There are powerful men that like hanging around with their favorite idol. And you might not know who his friends are because they got suits and ties on. And they call some big shots, bro. Homeboy loves showing up, being who he is. You guys got to understand that not all countries are glad that Japan is kicking our ass this bad. That's the truth, bro. To get all these fights from here on in for him, I called this like a year ago. I told you guys. Pretty soon it's going to be hard for him to get fights. Didn't I say that? Didn't I say it? And I, for argument's sake, I went along with it with you guys. I was like, yeah, let's visit all the possibilities at 126. Let's visit all these other possibilities here, there. And it makes great for good conversation. It does. The truth is, I don't know who's on his side and I don't know who's against him. I don't know if maybe just maybe the boxing gods are with him and they want to see if he can do this. Man, I hope that's the way they're viewing it. I know whenever the boxing gods want to show up, they can fuck shit up. I don't know how many times I've seen that in boxing. Mysteriously, all of a sudden, just bullshit starts happening. I'm not going to sit here and bury myself and start going down these roads. That's why I haven't used anybody for an example. I know 100 stories. I'm not using not one of them. One, I don't want my channel shut down. Two, I'm not going too far with this shit. I'll just alert you to sometimes these guys with suits and ties, money, fucking powerful, bro. Three divisions, unified. Terrence Crawford's not going to do it. They always made sure he was in front of Naoya Inoue. Always in front. Whoever got the opportunity first, Terrence got it first. Now that Terrence is locked in this Saul shit, fuck, Naoya Inoue can pass him. That's when I think the bullshit's going to start. Unfortunately. He got this far, bro. He got this far on his pure skills, bro. And that's what I admire about him. He really did what he needed to do. And he really fought the top guys and the number one guys, Naoya Inoue. He really did. And for the first time, yeah, I was excited as fuck. I was like, yo, dude, we got that one dude that's they're gonna allow him just to be the best he can be. Let's find out. At some point, I knew somebody was going to try to come and interfere. I just didn't know where. It was looking so great. It's been looking so like, and then now we're finally here. And I'm like, here we go. Here we go. But Naoya Inoue looks like he's a real warrior, man. He's legitimately doing it the best way I believe possible. I believe that the people and the powers that be, the boxing gods, if you hear my voice, man, please back this man up. Please. I want to see it, man. Just a career with no bullshit, man. And that he actually was that good. I've seen a lot of careers go out without no hiccups, but they weren't that good. They weren't like an elite fighter. They were a great fighter. They accomplished some shit, got some belts, but nothing really, you know what I'm saying? When are we going to get that one elite motherfucker, bro, that just shows everyone this is what hard work and dedication gets you? This is where you can get without no bling bling, the chains and the fucking facade of being the man. Where could hard work end up? How far can that go? And Naoya Inoue, silently in my head, he was the definition. He always was the definition of that. Yo, Mr. Miyagi, you keep me here, tuned in, locked in. Thank you. Another 5-piece. Looking forward to seeing how Naoya is received in the U.S. and how who comes to meet him during his stay. Wondering what there's gonna be a lot of guys that are gonna come down and talk to him. You know what I mean? I can't wait to see him. Thank you for the super chats, Mr. Miyagi, man. Yeah, you're right. You know what kind of business deals are headed his way. I just hope the best for the best fighters in the world. And for any young men and women that is coming up and are trying to achieve their dream, stay the course. You know, your hard work will pay off one day. It will pay off one day. And if you ever were in this situation, like such a fighter like Terrence Crawford and Naoya Inoue, you know, may they never come and interfere you. Terrence Crawford was on a great trajectory, great pace. You saw all the bullshit they threw in his way. So, you know, that's the shit that I'm talking about. You know, the powers that be. You know, he had to fight the very people that were responsible for his career. And he comes out that Top Rank was fucking boycotting his fights and shit. Meanwhile, those were the people that were supposed to help you. Had Terrence Crawford not gone through all that shit, would he have been a better, more accomplished fighter? I think so. I think so. And that's that boxing shit. So, fight fans, I've been on for a long time. We have to have something to talk about tomorrow or something, right? Well, tomorrow's Monday. I don't really go on. I'll see what I could do. I'll see if the missus lets me go on. So, fight fans, listen, man. Thank you for tuning in, locking in. Thank you for everyone that came in and showed some support. Mr. Miyagi, you are the man. Yo, Mr. Miyagi just dropping it for a brother today. Thank you very much. Here with a 50-piece in the super chat. That's why it's important to support so Edwin can do. Yes, thank you, Mr. Miyagi. You are the best. You are the best. And thank you. Everything, all your contribution to my boxing channel always goes to bringing more content to you, to getting out to these fights. I don't ever curse my boxing channel. I got my own money on my own side. All the love and support here is always solely dedicated to boosting up this boxing channel and to bringing us more boxing content. Mr. Miyagi, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Everybody that liked, joined in, tuned in, and was here to share today's episode. Thank you so very much. I'm not playing around with this boxing shit. I love boxing. I'm a very passionate boxing fan. And if you like boxing too, as much as I do, and the rest of the Round One Sports family, join us here at Round One Sports Talk, where we go on and we talk about the best that boxers have to offer. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Love yourselves. Be careful out here in this world. And like always, I'm on to the next one after this one here at Round One Sports TV. You guys